The time is just gone 9:47 a.m. as we continue with the broadcast this morning, and it's time now to join Hafiz Hassan Choonara, regional manager at Africa Muslims Agency. We're talking about the floods in Afghanistan, and it's also been a week since Africa Muslims Agency made their way to Afghanistan. This is one of the poorest countries in the world, poverty affecting the population in both rural and urban areas. Hafiz Hassan, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother Unite and to the listeners and viewers of Salam Media.
Gee, Hafiz Hassan, a war-ravaged country, approximately 97% of the population living below the poverty line. Even professionals cannot afford basic essentials. Can you tell us about the social condition of the communities that Africa Muslims Agency services in Afghanistan visited, and also share some of the experiences?
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. As the viewers and listeners would know, that the African Muslims Agency has permanent teams on the ground in Afghanistan, and right now the efforts are intensifying because of the current challenges. And as winter looms and the peak of winter is about to set in Afghanistan with snow expected and rain, etc. You think about the conditions at the moment, just having returned from Afghanistan about 48 hours ago. And you think of the mothers who are left in the mountains, you think of the widows and the elderly and those left in the villages in Afghanistan, and we just focus on winter for now. You think of how they're sleeping the night. I visited a home, a 70-year-old man staying outside his house. Brother Inayat, you mentioned about socioeconomic conditions, and I give some perspective, reality situations that gives us the overall picture. When I visited a home in a village, and I say home sounds very big, very luxurious. I mean a mud structure that's perhaps 3 by 4 meters, that's crumbling down, that come the winter time, immediately after the winter, that house will need to be rebuilt because the mud and the dung that's used to build the home will obviously wash away. So I see a 70-year-old man laying outside his home, unable to move, waving his hand to me to try to get my attention. As the sun goes down at 4:30 in the afternoon, Afghanistan is one of those countries when the sun goes down, the temperature drops drastically. You feel the chill within your bone, irrespective of the warm clothing that you have. The team, alhamdulillah, we had all this warm clothing. I looked at this man, he had nothing but a vest, a white t shirt, and perhaps what you'd call a kurta trouser, and laying outside his house. And the temperature starts dropping. And in my stupidity, I mentioned to one of the team members, why doesn't the family members take him inside? It's cold, the temperature is dropping, take him inside. And my colleague looks at me and says, Hassan, do you not see that a gaping hole, sort of the window in his home, that there's not even a plastic sheet as a window? You're going to put him inside, you put him outside, what's the difference? He's going to be freezing. At night, when I go to the room and I sleep, and I think of the many orphan children who the clothing on their back is perhaps the only items that they have, and how they're keeping warm. I think of the mothers with no heaters, no hood, no fuel, those who have heaters, those who make makeshift fires but have no items to keep the fire going. And this example shows that when the mothers are taking the clothes off their back and throwing it into the fire so the children can keep warm, how many more items are we going to wait for our mothers? Are we going to wait for them to lose their dignity, their respect, their honor, because they need to keep warm? This conditions, and this you talk about socio-economic conditions, Brother Inayat. This gives some perspective. I could go on story after story. Right now, Friday being Jummah in Afghanistan, it's just about Jummah time, and I think, what kind of water have they used to wash themselves for the time of Jum'ah? Did we still leave the mothers on top of the mountain, especially those who have young hands? Perhaps the children has ran to the village or to a bowl or to a city to purchase water if they have the means. But those who don't have the young hands and don't have the means, it is about Jumu'ah time now in Afghanistan. Did we allow them? Did they take the surface water of waste to you for ghusl, to prepare for Jumu'ah? My brothers, my sisters, yes, we have water challenges in our country too, but nowhere near what the people of Afghanistan Would we use the surface water of sewage to prepare for Jummah? Think not, and I don't think not, and I don't think we would. Allah protect one and all. So this gives you an idea, brother Inayat, of the socio-economic conditions of this country at the moment.
Yes, and also, Hafiz Hassan, these are the stark realities on the ground that are facing us, and also taking a look at various aspects of Afghan society. The child, for example, and the child plays an important economic role in the Afghan family structure. And, we talk about child labor, but this is out of desperation, this is out of necessity, because this is mainly because of the little money earned by their parents, which is hardly enough to feed the hungry mouths, and also at the same time looking at the reliance that families place, on the economic contribution of the child.
Absolutely. To give you an example, we talk about child in every home you go to, the 6 year old, 7 year old, the 8 year old, they walking the streets trying to sell items, push carts, shine shoes, carry the load for you, perhaps to earn something so you can go back to their parent and say, here's some means to pay the rent, or here's some means to put bread on the table. We talk about the child. And Brother Inayat, I mentioned the story, perhaps I didn't, maybe I have met an 18-year-old girl. Perhaps in our calculations she's 18, she looks much younger, and because this is the reality of poverty. But she got married at 10, first child at 13, currently at 18 years old, widowed with three children. Her youngest is not even a year old. While 2 months pregnant, she lost her husband because of the conflict, because of the current situation of Afghanistan. At 18 years old, three kids, unable to pay the rent. She fears when the snow starts falling in a few weeks, when it starts raining, she'll have to leave the home because she cannot pay the rent. She does not have the capability or ability to go out and work. If she goes, where does she put a child? I met a mother who goes out to look for basic chores, perhaps washes people's clothing, washes their house. She leaves her small one in the home before the sun rises. She sees him back in the evening. He's not eaten the entire day. If she comes back with bread, the people pay her with bread, she'll give the child the bread. But during the time the child is physically abused and bullied by other kids because of his poverty. I witnessed the bruises on his body. Imagine the mother's mindset, going out, putting herself in a vulnerable space, trying to earn whatever she can so her children can live, but knowing full well that wherever she's gone for that 12 hours or 13 hours that she's gone doing hard labor, when she gets home, she knows that her child will have been abused because he was left alone in a home. That's the many dynamics. We speak about this 18-year-old girl. She's afraid that she may be put out, has no one to work, has no to pay for her rent, put food on the table, a growing children, a baby that has needs. She's not asking for luxury. She's asking for basic food. My brothers and my sisters, we talk about the children of Afghanistan and sad reality of the situation and the conflict of the last many decades is that the orphan children, is that the children have become orphan, the mothers have become widows, the elderly have no young hands to help them. The teams are on the ground right now. We talk about winter rescue because it's urgent. We haven't even spoken about the boreholes like you see on your screen right now. When the mothers are taking the sewage water, we talked about Jummah time. Are we going to allow them to live in such indignified ways? We need your support on the ground right now, and we need it to donate towards heal Afghanistan, Brother Inayat.
Yes, Hafiz Hassan, and also, in any situation, the most vulnerable are women and children, and particularly looking at the girl children as well. And perhaps you can share with us, any of your projects that the Africa Muslims Agency runs in Afghanistan, focusing on women and children, girl children specifically as well.
I'll pick out two projects, Brother Unite. One is the tailoring project, the empowerment for widows and young girls, where we train them on how to make garments of good quality. We source obviously the best quality of material. Being winter, they're making a thick garments for young girls and for the orphans, and that's an empowerment. They also sell these items. We take it to the market place for them, and whatever they can sell, alhamdulillah, it helps them to pay the rent and put food on the table. That's an empowerment project. The other, Brother Unite, is apologies. The other is Madrasa Khadijatul Kubra. Alhamdulillah, this is African Muslims Agency Madrasa. It has 350 girls from as young as 6, 7, and upwards to the teens coming to madrasa and attaining various forms of education. And alhamdulillah, this past weekend, we marked the first anniversary of Madrasa Khadija al Kubra in Kabul, Afghanistan. And to interact with these kids prior to them getting a chance education and to see them now, alhamdulillah, the footage on screen. This is the celebration. We had a bit of a ceremony, and to hear them recite Quran, to hear them to talk, give tafsir, to hear them just to see the smile on these faces. Brothers and sisters, when we saw these kids 2 years ago with no education in their homes, broken, heartbroken, sad, depressed, no hope. And now you see them full of life, excitement, jubilation, appreciative, and grateful, and making dua for every donor who's contributing to alleviating their situation. So these are just two empowerment projects we have for young girls and for widows in Afghanistan. It's running at the moment, but also needs ongoing support so we can empower more families. And like we mentioned in introduction, Brother Unite, the reality of Afghanistan is that most of the people that I need are the widows and the girls and the orphans.
Yes, Hafiz Hassan, I suppose most of the information is available on your website and also on social media pages, and we continue encouraging people to contribute towards all these projects and causes.
Ameen, Ameen, Taqabballah, minna minkum, my brothers and my sisters. Go to Africa Muslims Agency .co.za, support the Heal Afghanistan campaign. Teams are on the ground, the efforts are underway. We need your support on this Mubarak day of Jum'ah. Well, let's take out sadaqah as for our families and businesses, and let's help people who are in need. Africa Muslims Agency .co.za, and on behalf of the teams and the beneficiaries on the ground, we say Shukran Jazilan. We're looking forward to your continued support.
Inshallah, Jazakallah khairan so much, and Allah reward your efforts and everyone else involved with AMA Hafiz Hassan Choonara. And inshallah, looking forward to future engagements and updates from AMA. Jazakallah for your time once again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Hafiz Hassan Choonara, Regional Manager at African Muslims Agency, an update out of Afghanistan. We're going to go for a break. We come back. We still have got Ahmed Muhammad, fourth year medical student at KwaZulu Natal University. The Jamaat Khana converted or intended conversion into a multi faith prayer KwaZulu Natal University.